Maxwell.
Max, best character.
Maxwell Smalls. Remember that name.
Yeah, this is Grounded 2. So while we're loading, you may, if you're fans of the previous game, you may be wondering, when did Grounded 2 come out? Grounded 2 came out a couple months ago. A month or two ago. And I've streamed it before.
I told you, you can't run from me, you foul beast!
If you want to, it's on Game Pass, so if you have Game
Ah!
Pass,
Ooh!
watch it.
Dreamt I was miniaturized again. What a nightmare. Speaking of which, when did I get dragged in
1 second. Just wanna.
to an evil dentist office? I ain't sticking around to find out.
Nope, it's still not fixed.
Man,
These two are the only ones that are fixed, that are actually working right now. For first person, so
roaches are even uglier at this size. I guess Ominous really paranoid about the park renovations. Do they think someone's gonna steal the benches? They're worse than cops.
Yeah, think about what happened last game. I mean, you still have no clue what or who.
Check it out. Dr. Tully's on TV. Hold up. Right. Dr. Tully went mad scientist and killed Virgil. That's why I'm here. I got a robot to save.
Yep, you do. I wish we could come back up here and do this, although it's literally just back to there. Into the pneumatic tube system.
Get your Scabby 2K.
Yay! Scabby 2K.
Step up to the machine. Please keep your arm still as the Scabby 2K's microneedles connect to your blood vessels.
That's
I'm
better.
Sloan Beaumont, your new boss. I'm so glad to welcome you to the Omnin Park training program. Located here in scenic and dangerous Brook Hollow Park. You are now tiny, but well equipped. Congratulations.
Damn. Scabby got big since the old one. Okay, don't think about it, Max. Find Virgil's head and get out of here.
Take a bit.
We're doing cutting-edge research, not just in Brook Hollow Park, but underneath it.
Fun fact that you'll
The park
see
project
later. I'm not gonna
takes
say.
a use every part of the buffalo approach to the park. Your Scabby 2K detected a resource analyzer. You'll find one of these at every ranger outpost in the park.
The ceremony has been canceled due to an explosion. Communication with the other facilities is down.
Inside the training dome, you'll learn a crucial survival skill.
Crafting!
They're
You're
gonna teach me about crafting? I'm an expert. So much for trying to forget the yard.
Oh my god, my game. I'm gonna turn these to medium. Maybe recording and streaming is affecting my stuff. That seems better. Give me that. tiny but well equipped. Unfortunately, it kinda... Also, Thor.
You will need a weapon for the next part of the training. You may use it against hostile creatures, but never against your fellow employees.
Z? Yes. There's many. Cracked. Artifact bandage. For this, I need a crafting bench. Okay, never mind.
For safety reasons, the door will not unlock until you are good. You are now legally armed and potentially dangerous. When you're ready, press the button to receive an opponent. Your combat skills will be evaluated by a panel of experts.
I don't want to be tested on killing stuff. That's messed up.
Not time to wait here for 5 years. It's weird, I can hear the hitting sound if I block. I mean, parry. Also, the cool thing about these is that... Ah, right here. You can see how many you need. Also, yes, those are the shock killers from last game. I believe you can get from these. Five, 6, 7, 8. I messed that one up. 9. 30. Give me. Oh. Takes very small damage, but takes stamina. Very where it doesn't take any stamina. Oh, that must be the new block meter then. Your stamina. For the creatures that are returning, it's mostly the same attacks. I think orb weavers and wolf spiders have different. Has another attack, I believe. But they're mostly the same. Holy cow, I'm cold. I'm gonna get on a hoodie. I put on a hoodie. $55 out of 80. I love how in this game you can get mutations in the tutorial. Technically, you could get Javelineer. Technically. You could also get this one and this one technically too, if you have a friend. The nice thing is that now you don't have to have an ally in the game. to get this. Since there's buggies, they also work. This one I don't even know if there's 60 locations in the game. Be in this one. No, this one. Like, like you would think, but landmarks are greatly spaced out now. Like, if I remember correctly, somewhere here is a backpack. Ah, right here. It's one of those backpacks from the previous game. Ten more. It'd be cool if they did more skins like for Pebble Sphere. Like, I don't know. I wonder how they would do weapon skins. Maybe different colors based on what you are. Sometimes they don't have it, so at least in the first game I've seen it. How many do I need for 150? Oh, it's not the 200 for the previous game. If I remember correctly, it was 20, 100, 2 previous game. Pairing isn't difficult. It's just when you're getting Parry Master, it's just you're present. Also, yes, I do have my gamma up. If you guys don't like that, I can turn it down. Although I usually play with gamma max out. Because when I go into tunnels and stuff, it's much easier to see without a light source. I actually parried that one. Like, this is a great intro to people who have never played Grounded for. It's a great intro to people who have never played Grounded. Like, it teaches you about combat, but it doesn't teach you about parrying until later. Or until you actually do it. I think it tells you about block. But when you get your first parry, it tells you about parrying. And how it negates all damage, and doesn't use any of your block. Denmark. What? 5.
performance was rated out of 10. Stay calm. An error was detected in the training module. Now calling a network technician.
Man, can Amanen do anything right? Somebody should probably pick up that call.
Hi there, bad news. I have
Sustained permanent damage.
please fix Burgle.
Sustained damage, not permanent damage. I love Grounded. And I love how somehow they managed to hide this from everybody. Like, I tend to watch videos while
Oh, hey, explainers and entertainers. Glad
Oh.
you're here. Was just doing a little research now that,
I'll turn it
this
down a
one
bit.
has arrived. He's able to leave the treehouse, but can't, or maybe won't, follow me out of the woods. He's a lot
Yeah, I like
quirkier now that he's a
listening to
ghost.
videos.
Oh, but we can talk about that later.
Now
Given
you're
a lot of
park-worthy.
sports are going on this time of year and
Out
none of
into
us
the
nerds can
wild.
escape their influence on society no
The
matter
thing
how
that I
hard
also
we
like is
try.
that
Get your Omni tool
It all
at
made
the
me think of my
Ranger
own
It
very
doesn't
complicated
tell you
history
about
with
Omni tool
athletics.
Could be a
Let me
good
explain.
insult.
I showed a
What is
general
it, though?
You see a
disinterest in
water bar
sports
and a
really
hunger bar,
early
no
in
matter
life.
how long you stay
While I
in
did
tutorial.
occasionally enjoy some backyard baseball with the
Never.
neighborhood kids, I was much more motivated
Never
by
do that.
creative things, like putting on plays in our living room, singing, dancing, and building things. But my parents wanted Rachel and I to be on sports teams.
Ceremony was a
For
hell of
some
a
reason,
time for Telly to go
I guess to
nuts.
teach us something. One of the
Like,
first
dude,
kids sports
they're
that all kids
dedicating a
American dads
statue
signed up
of
for
you.
by our parents is
Chill.
T-ball. What is T-ball? T-ball is basically baseball with the position of the pitcher removed. Apparently, we can't let 4-year-olds with no hand-eye coordination throw balls at other 4-year-olds holding bats who also have no hand-eye coordination. Instead, you put a ball on a tee in front of the batter so it's super easy to hit. Even though 9 times out of 10 they end up hitting the tee and the ball bounces away awkwardly. The kid eventually hits the ball and you scream at them to run to first base while all the other kids are being screamed at by their adults to pick up the dang ball! Fun!
Fun.
Oh, hey, explainers and entertainers. Glad you're here. Just doing a little research now that, this one has arrived. He's able to leave the treehouse, but can't, or maybe won't, follow me out of the woods. He's a lot quirkier now that he's a ghost. Oh, but we can talk about that
back
later.
in Telly's yard.
Given a lot of sports are going on this time of
Someone's
year and
calling
none
you.
of us nerds can escape their
Virgo?
influence on society no matter how
Hold
hard we
on,
try,
buddy!
it all made me think of my own very
Wait.
complicated history with
do I get in there?
athletics.
Trying
Let
to
me
remember
explain.
exactly.
Gotta
I
gear
showed
up
a
if I'm
general
going
disinterest in
exploring.
sports really early in life. While I did occasionally enjoy some backyard baseball with the neighborhood kids, I was much more motivated by creative things, like putting on plays in our living room, singing, dancing, and building things. But my parents wanted Rachel and I to be
I
on
know how to
sports
get
teams. For some reason. I guess to teach us something. One of the first kids' sports that a lot of us American kids are signed up for by our parents is T-ball. What is T-ball? T-ball is basically baseball with the position of the pitcher removed. Apparently, we
I got
can't let
nothing but
4-year-olds with no hand-eye coordination throw balls at other 4-year-olds
Fucking yeah.
holding bats who also have no hand-eye coordination. Instead, you put a ball on a tee in front of the batter so it's super easy to hit. Even though 9 times out of 10 they end up hitting the tee and the ball bounces away awkwardly. The kid eventually hits the ball and you scream at them to run to first base while all the other kids are being screamed at by their adults to pick up the dang ball! Fun! In fact, it was so fun that when I was
I
on my T-ball
three
team,
mic
I would
things from that
sit
one
down
night.
and draw pictures in the dirt with my finger.
Working on my portfolio.
T-ball is a very American first-time sport for kids, but I was curious about what other countries typically force their
damn
kids
mics
into.
always
I asked
jumping
all my
in your
non-American
face.
viewers and community posts, and
I
after
miss them
reviewing
at
all of
all.
the data, it seems like no matter what region of the world you're from, football/soccer overwhelmingly reigns supreme. Look, even I did it when I was a kid. Though really I shouldn't be too surprised, given the whole world loses its mind over the dang sport every couple years. Swimming was also a very common one you guys talked about, which, hey, I just think that that's a vital human skill to have. 71% of our world is covered in water. You should probably know how to swim. Even I was on a community swim team when I was a kid. Mom says I quit because I said it got too hard, but I think I just got bored. Just swimming back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. When are we playing Marco Polo? In fact, I'm sure that's why I quit a lot of sports when I was a little kid.
I'm so bored. Can't we play something else? It feels like we're always playing this game, like every Saturday.
There are certain sports that I have always been bad at, like on a cosmic level. Like no matter how hard I tried or how much I practiced, I was destined to
I'll
succeed.
unlock the ranger station.
Basketball
You
was
can call
that for
me
me in middle
anytime
school.
you need my
The way
help.
my very small private school worked was if you were a girl, your choice was cheerleader or sports team. You had to do one or the other. And because this adorable little socially awkward nerd was never going to be cheerleading material, I was forced to be a bench warmer for the basketball team. And I hated every moment of it.
The ranger
But
station
the
is
one
like at the
time I got
arcade
even
when
a
you exchange
glimpse
your
of
tickets
happiness
for
while
prizes.
playing, it was so annoying. The girls' team was practicing during PE one day while the boys sat on the bleachers watching us. During this scrimmage, I was passed the ball and miraculously made a basket. And the thing you have to remember is I never made baskets. I was so bad, I assumed every attempted competence on my part was going to be foiled by the universe. So when I scored that two-pointer, I got excited enough to give myself a little cheer. But after the game, I was approached by the boys in my class who had been watching. And I promise you I'm not joking here. These boys had arranged themselves and were posing like a gang of bullies in an anime, with the leader of the gang, the meanest boy in class, dead center with all the other boys surrounding him. The leader boy said very coldly, "Hey Rebecca, you acted like you've never scored a basket before in your life." And the boys around him all laughed. Well, I was so shy and sensitive and non-confrontational that I just blushed and ran away, tears welling up in my eyes. Ugh, kid. Sure hope you enjoy your future of loveless marriages that both end in divorce without custody. There's a paradox that can sometimes happen in a person where you are very good at something, but hate doing it with every fiber of your being. Enter softball. My parents signed me up for a league outside of school, I think about the time I started middle school, and my big mistake was showing I had natural ability. I somehow picked up softball skills very quickly and was actually a pretty good player. The problem was I was only a good player during practice. Because here's something fun I discovered only just this year in my late 30s. I've had an undiagnosed anxiety disorder for my entire life. So when it came time for game day in this softball league, I would get so nervous that all of my skills flew out the window, especially when I was up to bat. Boo! Did that work? Did I scare you? Live action, Becca, what are you doing here? No, seriously, what are you doing here? You're kind of creeping everybody out. Just felt like this next bit was getting a little too wordy for animation, but I think it's important and nuanced and I wanted to be thorough. But don't worry, I have visual aids! So one of the big reasons I dreaded game day in this softball league was my dad. Now, I love my dad, I miss him. He had many great qualities, he showed me so much love and support while I was following my dreams, but he was human, and complex and flawed, as we all are. And in this particular instance, he didn't handle things the way he should have. So for my softball activities, Dad became the main parent bussing me around for practices and games, while Mom was more responsible for Rachel's activities at the time. But he became one of those sports dads that took things way too seriously, because every time I messed up during a game, he would angrily yell at me and scold me on the ride home, lecturing me about what I should have done better. And since I messed up pretty much every game because of my anxiety disorder, this happened almost every single time. And one game was particularly bad. I think I was at the end of my rope. I was burned out and depressed and tired and wanted to be anywhere other than playing center field in this ball game. Suddenly, a ground ball was hit directly to me and I just didn't get my glove down in time. It passed right through my legs, costing us a couple runs and ultimately the game. And my team was actually really good because this was our first loss all season. All because of me. I was overcome with dread, imagining what Dad was going to say. But one of the worst parts about it was he was so mad that he didn't say a word to me the first half of the drive home. I think a lot of you know that situation, that piercing, deeply uncomfortable silence. It made me so anxious that I just couldn't take it anymore. Halfway through the drive, I meekly asked, "Dad, are you mad at me?" And I sometimes wish I didn't ask because that's when the floodgates opened. He began to scream and yell and rant and rave about my mistake, about letting my team down, my work ethic, etc., etc. He told me that even my coach approached him after the game and asked him, does she even want to play? He then began to scream at me that I shouldn't be playing softball for him, I should be doing it for me, and while that is completely true, the message was poorly delivered. I didn't have any life experience or wisdom at the age of 12 to understand what that meant in that moment. And I certainly didn't have the confidence or the emotional intelligence to help my dad understand my anxiety on game days. In that moment, I was just upset that I was getting yelled at and that I had let my father down. So I didn't end up quitting that season, I just tried harder. I still had the same anxiety during games as I always did, if not more now, but I didn't make any more game-costing mistakes. Now, I don't tell you this story because I want you to feel bad for me or to be mad at my dad, that's the last thing I want. No, I tell this story because I want every kid out there to know that your happiness matters. And just as my dad was ineffectively trying to tell me on that car ride home, you shouldn't do something just because you think it's what your parents want, or what your friends want, or classmates, or school, or church, etc., etc. Now, sometimes you have to work with your parents, find a sport to stay active, join a club to learn some skills. But you are allowed to keep searching until you find the right one for you. Just because dad played football doesn't mean you have to. Just because mom didn't fulfill her dreams of becoming an actor doesn't mean you have to. Repeat after me, I am not an extension of my parents, I am me. Take this as permission from Mama Becca to advocate for yourselves, darlings. And you know, softball wasn't all bad. I retained some pretty useful skills, like throwing accuracy. Once when I was in high school, a few years after quitting softball, David was outside running around and playing with his best friend, who also happens to practically be my little brother, Brooks. This guy, from this story. Like annoying little siblings, the two of them came up and started talking some crap. And then like little cowards, they ran away. I picked up a spongy water ball that was floating in our pool, took aim, and threw it into the distance.
Yeah.
And bam! Got Brooks square in the head. Ha! Still got it.
Good.
So, did I ever find a physical activity that I actually liked and was very good at? You bet! And you probably already have an idea of what it is. Slap a fin and some seashells on me and steal my voice because your girl is secretly a mermaid. Swimming and scuba diving became my main sport and mom was my big support in it. Kinda helps that she liked it just as much as I did. Because of being on the swim team in early childhood and then taking on scuba diving, I have always been exceedingly comfortable in the water, even to this day. It's probably the one physical skill I take any morsel of pride in. Even though I never competed on a swim team in middle school or high school, I still had some skills. One time my parents signed me up for marine biology camp. And because the campers were going to spend a lot of time in the water all week, the camp counselors made us take a swim test. We basically just had to swim the length of a large swimming pool back and forth one time, and the counselors insisted it wasn't a race. We could take our time completing it. But one girl in the group kind of forced my hand. She was bragging a lot about being on her swim team back at school, and all of the other girls were fawning all over her and hyping her up because of it. And me, being a competitive chubby girl looking to prove herself at all times, said, "Oh, it's on. Ready, set, go," and I was off like a torpedo. When I say all the self-esteem I had left in my heart was on the line, I mean it. I was gonna prove to everybody at this camp that I was the true queen of the sea. I shall be the one millennial middle school girl with a marine biology phase who actually becomes a marine biologist. Steve Irwin will be so proud! Girls were dropping left and right, having to stop in the middle of the pool to catch their breath. I couldn't even see swim team girl, but I didn't care. This single race that's not actually a race will forever change the course of my entire life! Woo, look at you go!
That's a dead Armadan employee, I think. What are they doing here?
Okay, I think that time I
all the evidence.
Seriously. And I don't want to disparage poor swim team girl too hard. She's allowed to take pride in the skills she worked hard for, just as I took pride in myself that day. You just can't be braggy about it, okay? That goes for you too. I think the whole moral of this video should be boiled down to this. Pursue the sports and activities and hobbies that get you excited. Something where you wake up every day and you can't wait to push yourself and get better. Not because you think it's what someone else expects of you. Now what I expect of you is to make it safely out of my woods and enjoy the cold weather. And keep an eye on your ghost pets. Thank you so much.
But they don't even care if we succeed in riding insects. They're hiding the eggs till they can steal my hatchery design. Oh, I know it. Well, I can hide my work too. Nobody would think to look here.
Oh, good evening, my geeks and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodle-ollies. You're just in time for tea. You know, the last time we were sitting at my dining room table, we were talking about daycare stories, right? Well, who doesn't love a good sequel? Let's jump back to the good old days of making daycare staff miserable. If you remember that last video, you'll remember that my sister Rachel and I went to this daycare together. She was with the big kids, I was with the little kids. But the two of us had been going to this particular daycare literally from infancy. So the staff knew us. And we both had reputations. Rachel's nickname at this place was Rocky because she would start fights with older kids who were being mean. While when I was about 18 months, I would go up to other kids just learning how to walk and push them over, laughing maniacally.
The reason why
Listen, I got my devil tree out early. You best be thankful that I'm a good witch of the woods now. A typical day of daycare for the Parham sisters started early in the morning getting dropped off by a parent. And the experience was very different depending on which parent dropped us off. See, Rachel and I didn't like that our parents were leaving us. Frankly, we weren't that thrilled being left at daycare to begin with. But we knew to keep that sentiment to ourselves whenever Mom dropped us off. She was incredibly no-nonsense, and our tears and screams would do nothing to sway her. She'd just drop us off and sashay herself out the front door without looking back. So we learned that her heartstrings couldn't be played on. But if Dad was dropping us off... There's a game that both kids and adults play. When little kids play it, it's called dig in a random spot and hopefully find something. When adults play it, it's called Minecraft. Digging in dirt or sand to a kid, it's magical. Mostly because of the slim chance that you might actually find something. But there were two main things that we were all digging for as kids. Say it with me, buried treasure and dinosaur bones. Which makes archaeologists and paleontologists adults that never outgrew it. I caused some major property damage at daycare once by digging. You want to hear about it? Of course you do. One day, two kids and I were playing outside in a secluded, shady part of the playground around the back of the building. A spot conveniently difficult for the adults to supervise. The three of us were happily digging away in the dirt when, gasp, we actually found something. That's the best thing about the positivity and the optimism of kids. It doesn't matter what you found while playing this game, you still felt like Indiana Jones. And the three of us were thrilled that we had unearthed the rare and elusive water pipe.
It belongs in a museum!
But the moment the three of us walked away for just a second, leaving our dig site unprotected, a random boy saw the exposed pipe in the ground, picked up a big rock, and... he took all the blame. And they had to shut down the water at the daycare for a few days to get it fixed. However, this next story, I absolutely got caught in the act, and I'm pretty sure it's one of those universal childhood experiences. 'Tis a dangerous and often hilarious thing the first time a child figures out that hair is meant to be cut, and scissors are meant for cutting. We all put two and two together real fast, eyeballing those craft scissors in our school supplies. There was only one incident I tried to cut my own hair as a kid, and it was at daycare. Of course, it happened during arts and crafts. I don't even remember what we were making, but it involved scissors, and the person who was supposed to be watching us made the fatal error of looking away for just a second. Because that was all the time I needed. I grabbed a piece of my hair, raised the scissors up, and... Rebecca! Don't you even think of... The daycare worker took me to the staff room to sit in timeout with her. A wise thing, not leaving me alone to my own devices. She sat at her desk writing down this little incident in my report card. Snitch. While I had to sit in a chair and not move. But every time another staff member walked in, this lady would say something like, "Hey, do you want to see what happens when Rebecca tries to cut her own hair?" Oh, okay, Janet. I don't recall asking your opinion on my hairdressing skills, but if we're gonna start playing the shame game, I'm gonna let Kid Becca have the floor.
You think my hair's bad, but you paid someone money to make you look like that. If you let me do your hair, it would at least be an improvement.
I don't get paid enough for this.
And I don't get paid anything to tolerate you, but here we are.
Hello, Mrs. Parham. Yes, it's Rebecca again.
Mom, I saved you money on my next haircut.
Okay, I didn't actually say any of that. Man, I wish I was a fire-breathing roast lord back in the day. Then maybe I would have become an actual stand-up comedian instead of an animator pretending to be one. Did you hear the one about crypto? So as I've said before, Rachel was in a different group than me and we had different activities, so we didn't always get to hang out with each other. But one day, while I was innocently playing with my fellow little kids, an adult plucked me away from whatever I was doing and sat me at a table with Rachel far away from the rest of her group. It was unmistakable she had purposely been isolated from the other kids.
Alright, what did you do? You haven't confessed, have you? Demand an attorney, they can't prove anything.
What actually happened was the staff had planned an activity where each kid was given a glob of peanut butter that they could sculpt into whatever they wanted. And the best part was that they would eventually get to eat their creations. The problem was, ever since childhood, Rachel has been deathly allergic to peanuts. Seriously, it's a 911 call every single time, she's that sensitive. I once opened a particularly potent jar of peanut butter, closed it after just a few seconds, and when Rachel walked through that area a minute later, her eye began to swell. So naturally, Rachel was not going to be allowed to play with the world's deadliest substance to her. Instead, they gave her some Play-Doh and made me come play with
You're a bombarder. Remember you're a bombarder. I don't think I've ever spiders to bait.
Night's coming up.
That was
and
pretty.
it's shelter time. Let's build. Just looking. I'll probably you can run, but you can't hide.
Come here. Why are you in the wall? Oh my. I got 2 fangs. Unfortunately, we can't. Why does it look like he's trying to punch me? Raw science, not the army man. Oh yeah, and Deadwood's in this game. Is that the only spider? What was that? The first spider? Well, the only spider I've seen so far. Like, I haven't even seen a spiderling. Granted, I could see a spiderling from the American website, but that doesn't make me a person. how they made that.
Wish I had fried with that.
Every part of biscuits. Saves time.
With her so she wouldn't be alone. Wow, that sounds like such a wholesome sisterly moment, huh? Am I right? Right? Hey, Kid Becca, it's a wholesome sisterly moment, right?
Officer, I've never met this girl before in my life. Also, I should have peanut butter. Hey! Don't you try to drag me down with you.
Mind you, I did sit there the whole time playing with Rachel, just very angrily. But when the activity was over and Rachel was far away, they eventually gave me a little spoonful of peanut butter for my trouble. But oh my god, what an absolute brat, right? Never mind that it's a life or death situation where you could have one less sister by the end of the day. But hey, listen, I was not always inconsiderate of my sister. Sometimes I was very helpful. You all know about Smarties, right? Not the good kind, the American kind. The bishop on the chessboard of loser candy. I will hear no arguments to the alternative. Well, this daycare was no stranger to giving out this candy as the occasional treat. And one day, Rachel apparently had gotten her hands on a pack of them. The two of us were in nap time together when she rolled over and whispered, Hey Becca, guess what? What? I got a Smartie stuck up my nose and I can't get it out. Now, as a bright young child with plenty of potential to eventually maybe one day be smart, I had a perfect plan of attack for the occasion.
I got a stick.
We all stuffed random things into our pockets as kids, and apparently I had a stick that day.
Whatever you do, don't move.
I shoved the stick up Rachel's nose to try and get the Smartie out. And as one would imagine, a stick is not the most effective nor sanitary tool for such a job. So all I really accomplished was pushing it further up her nose.
Ah! Ow! This may turn into brain surgery soon.
Just as I thought the Smartie could go no further up Rachel's nose, a daycare staff member walked by and was treated to this cheery sight. Hey, wouldn't you know it, that little extra push caused it to dislodge and fall down the back of Rachel's throat.
Well, there you go, crisis averted.
You know, my dad used to tell people that I was smart enough to be a doctor. I think he was lying. Alright, explainers, just one more thing. There are only a couple days left to pre-order the Witchbecca doll and the new pen set. These are very limited edition items. We will not be making them again. So link to the store in the description below. Alright, explainers and entertainers, I appreciate you having some late night tea with me, but I think it's time I hit the hay. Thank you so much for tuning in, but now I gotta tune out. Bye! Oh, hello, my geeks and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodle-lollies. Rebecca Parham here. So, did you know I was a daycare kid? Probably not, because I've never mentioned it before. Makes sense, given that mom and dad were both working parents, and leaving one's infant at home alone is generally considered problematic. Now, I know it might be hard to believe, but I haven't always been the pinnacle of refinement and maturity that you see before you today. No. As a kid, I was a bit of a rascal. For example, the box story. Now at this daycare we had a big playroom, and in this playroom there was a dark little alcove where custodial stuff and equipment was kept all the time, and one morning during playtime I noticed someone had left a large box there. Big enough for a child to hide behind. Now there's a concept that I call kid logic, and it's basically just a name for that randomness that kids possess, or the absurdity that is their reasoning sometimes. For example, when I saw that box, that's when my kid logic kicked in, and I said,
I'm gonna hide behind that box for as long as possible and see what happens. This is a great idea.
So when the adults weren't looking, I slunk behind the box and crouched down, hiding myself entirely. I must have stayed there for half an hour before playtime ended, and they ushered all the kids away to a different room for a new activity. And funny enough, the adults were none the wiser I was gone.
I've beat the system.
Now this is what gets me. It took an hour of me hiding before an adult came back to the room and visibly began looking around for something. Couldn't imagine what it might be.
Now, where did I leave that small child? Must be around here someplace. I peeked my head up over the edge of the box to watch, but that proved to be my undoing. I was spotted! I've been compromised! I got in big trouble for that, of course. I was clearly not good at getting away with things when I was a kid, as you'll see in the next story. Now, one time at this daycare, they brought in a whiteboard, and you were only allowed to draw on it with adult supervision. Okay, I won't draw on the board. Instead, I stole a green dry erase marker when no one was looking and proceeded to decorate my face. Hey, listen, I didn't break the rules. They specifically said don't draw on the board. They said nothing about my face. I put the marker back and walked away, but was promptly spotted by an adult. Becca, did you do this to yourself? No. Did somebody do this to you? Yes. Who did it? Well, sheesh, I hadn't thought I had that far. And I honestly didn't even think to blame another kid. Instead, that good old kid logic kicked in. And I came up with the most foolproof story that was sure to get my hide out of trouble. I was minding my own business, looking for something to play with, and then the Marcus came over and marked on my face. Nailed it. I will never understand how that daycare worker kept a straight face, but off to timeout I went. So, what are you in for? Disrupting the status quo? Whoa, I stuck gum up my nose. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that my sister Rachel also went to this daycare, and because she's 2 years older than me, she got to be in the big kids program called the Superstars, and I was so jealous that I took to calling them the Stupid Stars. Extra crispy on that burn there, little Becca. But one thing that will always be a significant memory to me is the day I discovered that the Superstars had a Nintendo. Better yet, they had Super Mario Brothers. And that, my little oodle-ollies, was the first time I ever saw a console video game. I thought I was looking at magic. And that became the only thing I ever wanted to do at playtime, was go over to the big kid area and watch them play Super Mario Brothers. Don't you dare tell me that gamers aren't real entertainers. I was watching people play video games long before the Appliers and Septiceyes and D-Pies of the world made it a thing. But when playtime was over, the daycare staff had to pry me away, kicking and screaming from that TV set. One day, however, I came up with a brilliant idea. When they pulled me away from the big kids corner and sat me down with the other little kids, I proceeded to scream and cry that I miss my big sister, and nothing was gonna console me except being allowed to be with her in the big kid area. I guess the adults didn't know what else to do, so they actually let me go back over. Holy Crayola, that actually worked. Sure enough, I made a beeline for the Nintendo. Screw you, sis, I got video games to observe. It didn't take long for an adult to catch on, and I was eventually pulled away again. When I tried the same shtick, they gently said, Becca, you say you miss your sister, but every time you go over there, you just watch them play video games. Okay, maybe they had me there. I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty solid accusation. Alright, grown-up, I'll concede to you this time. But one day, I'll be grown-up, and I'll watch all the video games I want. Don't you mean play them? No. Now I've saved the best story for last. Even when I started kindergarten, there was no escaping this daycare, because one of the services they provided was picking up children from my elementary school and taking them back to the daycare where the parents could pick them up later. So every day, I didn't get picked up by a parent or get on a normal yellow school bus. I waited for a big white van. That sounds rather nefarious now that I say it out loud. But yeah, Rachel and I would wait for the van, pile in with the other kids, and go wait to get picked up at the daycare. And this was a routine my kindergarten teacher knew. She was a very good teacher and kept track of the way each of her students were supposed to go home. So she would make sure I got in that van. Well, I was getting a little bored of the routine. And here's good old kid logic again, because many of my classmates would get to walk home. And for some reason, I decided that was the cool thing to do. I aspired to walk home. But that wasn't gonna happen with Miss Responsibility Pants botching my whole operation. So like the little devil I was, I waited until we had a substitute teacher. Alright, here's your evil genius learner's permit, kiddo. When school ended that day, instead of getting into the daycare van, I hid behind a brick pillar and waited for the van to leave without me. Funny how my sister never said anything. She must have been like, alright, I guess she died. As soon as the van left, I headed off on foot. My house was within walking distance, only about a mile away, but I began to think as I walked that no one was actually going to be at the house, and I had no way of getting inside. Probably should have thought of that before. So instead of walking home, I made the executive decision to walk to the daycare instead. Now, I knew what I was doing was against the rules, because every single time I saw a white vehicle of any sort coming in the distance, I would duck behind a tree or bush as fast as I could. When I was so close that I could see the daycare up ahead, I noticed what was most definitely a white van approaching, and the only tree immediately available was thinner than me. So not only was this tree already insufficient at hiding me, but when I jumped behind it, I didn't think to put the tree between me and the line of sight of the van. So when the daycare staff approached, this is what they saw. I'm revoking that evil genius learner's permit. They stopped the van, made me get inside, and guess who I found in the back seat? The snitch that ratted me out. My own sister.
How could you? We were brothers, you and I.
Wait. And that is just a handful of examples of what a little monster I was. I talked to my sister about this script and she came up with even more stories about this daycare, so if you guys like this video, then maybe there'll be another one in the future. Who knows? Alright, have fun out there, oodalollies, and avoid white vans. Thank you so much for tuning in, but now I gotta tune out. Bye!
They usually attack me.
Oh, good evening, my geeks and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my
always
little
that one that
oodalollies. You're just in time for tea. You know, the last time we were sitting at my dining room table, we were talking about daycare stories, right?
not even where we were
love
there.
a good sequel.
What?
Let's jump back to the good
What
old
the
days
heck?
of making daycare staff miserable. If you remember our last video, you'll remember that my sister Rachel and I went to this daycare together. She was with the big kids, I was with the little kids. But the two of us had
Okay,
been
well,
going to this
screw you.
particular daycare literally from infancy. So the staff knew us. And we both had reputations. Rachel's nickname at this place was Rocky because she would start fights with older kids who were being mean. While when I was about 18 months, I would go up to other kids just learning how to walk and push them over, laughing maniacally. Listen, I got my devil tree out early. You best be thankful that I'm a good witch of the woods now. A typical day of daycare for the Parham sisters started early in the morning getting dropped off by a parent. And the experience was very different depending on which parent dropped us off. See, Rachel and I didn't like that our parents were leaving us. Frankly, we weren't that thrilled being left at daycare to begin with. But we knew to keep that sentiment to ourselves whenever Mom dropped us off. She was incredibly no-nonsense, and our tears and screams would do nothing to sway her. She'd just drop us off and sashay herself out the front door without looking back. So we learned that her heartstrings couldn't be played on. But if Dad was dropping us off... There's a game that both kids and adults play. When little kids play it, it's called dig in a random spot and hopefully find something. When adults play it, it's called Minecraft. Digging in dirt or sand to a kid, it's magical, mostly because of the slim chance that you might actually find something. But there were two main things that we were all digging for as kids. Say it with me. Buried treasure and dinosaur bones, which makes archaeologists and paleontologists adults that never outgrew it. I caused some major property damage at daycare once by digging. You want to hear about it? Of course you do. One day, two kids and I were playing outside in a secluded, shady part of the playground around the back of the building, a spot conveniently difficult for the adults to supervise. The three of us were happily digging away in the dirt when, gasp, we actually found something. That's the best thing about the positivity and the optimism of kids. It doesn't matter what you found while playing this game, you still felt like Indiana Jones. And the three of us were thrilled that we had unearthed the rare and elusive water pipe.
It belongs in a museum.
But the moment the three of us walked away for just a second...
Well, that was good. See you next time.